Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 3 of Pigskin Glory Football 50 years ago today. We are going to be talking about the time frame between October 11th. We are going to be talking about the time frame between October 21st and 31st. That's right, this time 11 days starting on a Tuesday, ending on a Friday. We're going to cross into Halloween. We're going to talk about the end of the World Series. And with me, as usual, my guest, he is from Wisconsin, but roots for the Bills. And he does a lot of the background work on posting these things on our Facebook page. Give it up for Chris Krieger.
Good evening, Vinny. Good evening, viewers. Good evening, everybody.
And joining us from the West Coast, a 49er fan, but more or less, he is our baseball expert, Charles Delano.
Have a report. Good evening to you all, wherever you may be.
And a special guest right now, Cookie the Beagle.
Okay. Great dog, not a pretty good predictor of football outcomes.
No, if you follow me on TikTok, he is not. Now, October 1975, when we left you off, or when we last talked to you, the World Series had been delayed due to rain and bad weather, and the Bills had just dropped their first game to the Giants. So let's go ahead and see, where's my mouse, where we go from here. All right, October 21st. It's a Tuesday. The NFL standings are out. And let's go ahead and take a look at where the playoffs would be. There we go. In the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys are 4-1, the Minnesota Vikings are 5-0, and the Los Angeles Rams are 4-2. Those are your division leaders, and as far as the wild cards go, Washington, St. Louis, and Detroit are in control there. I'm not exactly sure what the tiebreakers are, but let's call it Washington at this point. They cannot, of course, play the Cowboys in the divisional round, so they would probably be going to Minnesota anyway. Minnesota right now has the home field advantage, and the Rams and Cowboys play. Chris, what do you think, if this is the way the NFL standings set up at the end of the season, what do you think of this NFC foursome?
Well, it would be a lot of the standbys from a year ago. Minnesota, Dallas, Los Angeles, and you were correct. It is Washington because they beat the Cardinals on a Monday night, and they haven't played Detroit yet, so that's your, and of course, Washington, Minnesota, Dallas, Rams, the more things change, the more they stay the same. It would be the rematches of 2 years ago.
Surprisingly, over in the AFC, the Cincinnati Bengals are your leaders at 5-0. Miami and Buffalo both 4-1. Buffalo just dropped their first game, or else they could have been in that catbird seat as well. The Oakland Raiders and the Denver Broncos are tied at 3-2, but the team that wouldn't qualify for the division there would not be the wildcard team because Buffalo has the better record. Again, Buffalo and Miami cannot meet, but the Bengals are undefeated anyway, so they're your 1 seed. Buffalo at Cincinnati, Oakland at Miami. Charles, Oakland and Miami, we've seen them. The Sea of Hands game, week 1. Would another divisional playoff game live up to the potential historical outings they've had in recent memory?
That's going to be a lot of pressure to top that. That's for sure. What can hope for if it's raining the door, but just hope for a pretty good game. And just play the weather's a lot better this time around.
Chris, what say you? You're a Bills fan. You picked them when we did our character as if it were 1975. You picked them to go to the Super Bowl. This loss to the Giants, how bad does it hurt them?
Well, it especially isn't good timing because Miami's coming in next week, and they haven't beaten them in 10 straight games. Miami hasn't lost since Monday night. The Bills had a lead. The Giants only had 9 fumbles, and they somehow managed to recover 6 of them. So clearly, everything that had to go against the Bills last week did, and you figure maybe they're due for a little more luck, considering Miami's coming to town, and no Zonka, no Warfield, no kick.
A couple days late on the UPI polls. Usually they come out on Sunday, but there's a lot of newspapers in the 70s that don't publish. I forgot to post them for the 20th, so it doesn't change obviously from Monday to Tuesday. They're the same. Ohio State is still your number 1 team. They received 37 first place votes. Our teams, of course, Mark is not with us right now, but Penn State is down at 9. They're 9th with 93 points. Notre Dame, which is my second favorite team, is 14th. Charles, can Ohio State run the gauntlet? Can they go wire to wire, especially with Oklahoma and USC and Nebraska also undefeated? Texas A&M, let's not forget them. Can Ohio State?
The way Woody Hayes runs the ball club, he does not believe in passing. He believes in legs, and you saw with their trouncing of Wisconsin 56-0 last Saturday. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Chris, there's other undefeated teams in this top 20 that I didn't mention, of course. San Diego State, Arizona State. Do any of them, Michigan has 2 ties, do any of them have a chance at the national title at this point?
I think Arizona State would have the best chance because, they played in Fiesta Bowls. They've had some good wins. They beat Florida State a couple years ago, and they've not only produced some good NFL players, but they've beaten some of the quote unquote name programs in recent years. Back a few years ago, they beat Florida State in this new Fiesta Bowl.
We actually have a rare situation where it is a top 19 as Miami of Ohio, the Redskins, and the Maryland Terrapins each got 1 vote. They're tied for 19th place.
Honestly, surprised Maryland is ranked after that Kentucky game set football back years.
Not that side, the other side.
October 21st. Mark, welcome to joining us, ladies and gentlemen, from the Keystone State. Mark joins us. How are you doing tonight?
I'm fine. How are you guys doing?
Good. Now, my question is can you see... Oh, it doesn't matter because you don't have to read the way we're doing the podcast this week. I'm delivering the topics and asking you guys the questions. League transactions. Okay. Remember, it's Tuesday, October 21st. The WFL has still not made an announcement, so Birmingham has waived rookie quarterback Leo Gasyenka, and the New England Patriots rookie tackle Dave Ripton signed, and they waived wide receiver Mel Banker. Do any of these transactions make any bit of difference, Mark, in the outcome of the seasons for the World Football League and the NFL?
I don't know. I think a little bit, maybe. I don't know how many of the World Football League players are going over to the NFL at this point.
Now remember, they still haven't made an announcement as of on Tuesday at this point.
Well, as of right now, then I'd say nothing's until anything's announced for sure if they're going to continue or not. Then nothing. It wouldn't really affect much right now.
The World Football League's problems are coming out. This is also still on the 21st. They're talking about their weak clubs. Charles, do you think to continue, maybe they should disband several teams and just go with the top 4 for the rest of the season? Or would that be
whatever it takes at this point?
Let's take a look at this thing.
It's possible, but their attendance is dismal. That makes monthly attendance in baseball look good. You'll have to make some sacrifices, concessions, and contract a couple of teams.
Okay, a Pittsburgh Steelers story out. Chuck Noll is disputing testimony on trades. Before the season, NFL Vice President Tom Keating was traded by Pittsburgh solely for his pro-union activities, according to one of the team's defensive line coach, George Perlis. Chuck Noll disagrees with that. Mark, would it be legal for a team to trade the union president?
I've never heard of that in all my time. I can understand trading players, but a union president.
Well, he is a player. He's the player's president.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I know. I'm thinking trading an NFL player is one thing, but trading the president, the union president, I don't know. I mean, and then at what point then you're going to open up a floodgate if they go and do that?
Here's my thing. When you watched Super Bowl IX last year, how many times was Tom Keating's name mentioned? None. He didn't play. He didn't make any plays. He's not one of the Steelers' big players. If this were Franco Harris or Lynn Swann or Mean Joe Green, then I might believe the Steelers coach here, George Perlis. But I'm siding more or less to side with Chuck Noll on this, that he was not traded because of his union activities.
That's a good point there.
We move
It
on to
could be
Wednesday.
his talent. His
Yep, go
talent
ahead.
wasn't good enough.
Right. We move on to Wednesday, October 22nd. And same thing, New England, they seem to be making moves every day, Chris. Today they're waiving Mel Baker. They placed him on waivers yesterday. Let me see. They signed one of these guys yesterday. They signed Dave Ripton and released Mel Baker. He's officially cleared waivers today. Now they're placing defensive lineman Dave Tipton on waivers. New Orleans, Tom Myers is out for 5 weeks. Remember, he scored a touchdown against the 49ers with a high ankle sprain. Chris, the Patriots and Saints, neither of them are going anywhere, but how big of a loss is this for the Saints losing Tom Myers?
Well, considering he scored a touchdown in that San Francisco game, and they are coming off that first Superdome win over Green Bay, that's the Saints in a nutshell. 1 step forward, 5 steps backwards.
Charles, being a 49er fan, you probably would have rather not seen Tom Myers on the field last week when he made that touchdown, but, it is what it is. He was healthy then. He's not going to be healthy going forward.
Cinco, you do not wish injuries on anybody. That being said, if sports physically demanding at the NFL, injuries are going to be too commonplace. Now, there's never a reason why my mother would have never signed a permission slip for me to play football while in school. This is the reason why.
Yep. We have so Wednesday, the news is broken. The WFL dies. Volks, Birmingham, will apply for instatement in the NFL in 1976, joining the Buccaneers and Seahawks. A league dying mid-season. Was the WFL's timing off, trying to compete head-to-head against the NFL? What killed them in the long run? Charles.
Planning. Mismanaged planning, maybe too optimistic of expectations without the proper budget and planning in place.
Chris, having a lack of a TV deal, nobody could see the game unless they actually went to them. So somebody like me that lives in upstate New York where there isn't a team, why would I be interested in anybody?
That makes perfect sense because the lack of a TV deal hurts. And, people talk about the difference is the reason the CFL is able to thrive is because, well, you can actually watch the CFL games. But in the end of the day, I think the WFL's legacy is going to be basically being the breaking up of the Miami Dolphins. That's their legacy. Not what they did, but what they basically didn't do with Zonka, Warfield, and Kick. And how screwed up do you have to be when you can't even, finish out your season? At least the USFL was able to crown their champion before they went under.
Mark, would the WFL done better in the springtime?
I think it would have done a lot better, especially if you plan it out and you have a little bit of TV. Because I think you could have had a shortened season compared to the NFL, and you could have had NFL scouts looking at them a little bit and seeing who's going to be coming up. I think that'd be the ideal time to have had it.
It's going to be interesting when we do get to 1983 in 8 years and talk about. We'll actually be able to film episodes in the spring because we'll have the USFL. No league had tried the spring, as far as my knowledge, yet. Everybody had always tried to go head-to-head with the fall up through 1975, and only the American Football League of the 60s was successful. But they also had a TV deal. Now, with the advent of ABC, NBC, and CBS having the NFL TV deal, there really isn't room for a World Football League. Perhaps they were a few years too early for their likings, being that cable isn't really hit yet. We don't have an ESPN. Maybe if they had waited 5 years, they might have done better. We're still on
maybe
Wednesday.
A summer league. Might a summer league have helped, a la what the Canada does with games in July and August?
It might have been hard to contest such games in Birmingham, Alabama with their heat, but you're not wrong there. All right, later on in the day, the NFL blackout of TV is set for a legal test, and we're talking West Seneca, New York, which is out by Buffalo. Local cable television, we just talked about cable, has set up what could be the first legal test for the National Football League's television blackout rule. International Cable of West Seneca have played more than half of the American broadcast company's Monday night telecast of the Bills and Giants game on advice of counsel before the game was sold out. but not until under the 72-hour limit. So they put the game on. 27,000 customers were able to watch it until it got shut down. Chris, being that your family is from the Buffalo area originally, you couldn't watch a lot of Buffalo Bills games. They didn't sell out back in those days under the NFL blackout rules. How hard would it be for young kids to get into football? We just talked about the World Football League without being able to see the games on TV.
Oh, it would be very hard because there have been years when, the whole 72-hour thing, it's just dumb. Like, think there were some years, like there are some Bills games that you're honestly shocked were locally blacked out. The 1980 Miami Dolphins streak stopper, the 1990 Randall Cunningham game, two of the more memorable Bills games at home. And yet those games were officially blacked out in Buffalo, even though they are among some of the more memorable games in Bills history.
Charles, one of the things that brought us together to get to know each other was our enjoyment of collecting old games on on the internet through people who recorded them on VHS. We're 1975. We're on the dawn of the VHS. It's just gonna be a couple years. You see, tape traders and all that. There's a massive explosion of availability come 1977. These games that are blacked out, Charles, you don't get to see them because nobody was able to record them unless they lived in the visiting cities region. So there's a lot of games missing.
That's right. Again, it's very difficult to see your favorite team. For example, my Niners, I couldn't see a good amount of the game in the 70s in the Bay Area because of the blackout. Part, no, not sold out at all. Or if it was sold out less than 72 hours ahead of time.
Now every Tuesday or Wednesday, we're going to change the background photo for the Facebook page. Here is New York Giants kicking a field goal against Buffalo, and of course, from the 60s to the 90s, Bills and Giants have been linked through kickers, whether they are jumping ship, setting up the AFL-NFL merger like Pete Gogolek, or missing a field goal wide right. Chris, what about this photo struck you as what we needed to go with for the page?
Well, because it was, the stand-up moment of a big upset. The Giants were a double-digit underdog. You have the rare helmet matchup because by the time the Giants and Bills meet again in 1978, the uniform will be completely different for the Giants. They'll have the different helmets. And, of course, when you think Bills-Giants, you think the other Giants logo and the red helmet Bills. When you think Bills versus Giants, you don't think of this helmet matchup.
This is an interesting one because it's a rare one-season-only helmet logo. It's not even legal nowadays in the NFL. You've got to go at least 3 seasons with a uniform combination. But this is what's referred to as the Disco Giants logo because it happened in 1975, and it gives off vibes of the era and pop culture. So, yeah, you're right. This is something that only happened once, and although we lost, we did get to play them in their disco unis. All right, so that was episode 2 of Pigskin Glory. We move on. Nope, still on the Oh, that's the same thing. It must have posted twice. All right, Charles. Larry Zonka wants to rejoin the Dolphins. Fullback Larry Zonka, the World Football League. Now that the league is over, he says he intends to talk to Miami. And as he said many times, he'd prefer to play for the Dolphins with Don Shula if he played anywhere else this year. Do you think the NFL should let these World Football League players in?
Yes. Give these players a chance to prove themselves in the NFL, and if it doesn't work out, they can always find hatch with another team, or they can adapt and find a new career. But just give these players a chance. I mean, it's not their fault. They want to league that they have poorly executed plan with running in the first place. And as you mentioned, it would have been better off if they tried to have a different football league in the spring. It would have done much better.
Mark, do you think that players, especially the stars like Larry Zonka or Ken Stabler, who jumped ship, not Ken Stabler, I'm sorry, Darryl LaMonica, who jumped ship to the World Football League, do you think there should be some kind of punishment by the NFL for abandoning their teams?
Depends. Were they in the middle of a contract? I mean, if you're in the middle of a contract, yeah, there should be some type of, if not punishment for the teams, definitely for the players. I mean, you don't sign a contract and then jump leagues right in the middle of it.
All right, Chris, if the NFL allows this to happen, does Larry Zonka play this weekend against the Bills?
Well, that would be something because, that's the last thing Buffalo fans want. You're 4-0, you're thinking, hey, we know what to deal with Zonka, and boom, he's back. It's like they really can't escape.
Right. Just bad timing. All right, we are on Thursday, by the way. Let's take a look at the transactions. The New England Patriots are always making moves. They're trying to get better. Yesterday's reported today, they waived running back Doug Dressler and signed fullback Bob Asderson. He's a 4-year veteran. The Detroit Lions placed wide receiver Dennis Franklin on the injured reserve list due to viral infection. And Charles, your 49ers have placed wide receiver Bob Hayes, the world's fastest human, on waivers to make room for veteran wide receiver Terry Beasley.
I wonder why.
Would you rather have Beasley?
Yes. And there's a WFL on the bottom, and I always said one word. Oh.
Yeah, the WFL is dead. R.I.P. World Football League. So, again, sad but not unpredictable. I swear a league should try playing in the spring. We talked about it, Mark. The WFL ends. What's their legacy?
Their legacy, like you guys were saying, is not good. Poor attempt, no TV contracts. It just was a colossal failure.
Charles, I'm going to go back to you on this one. We just briefly mentioned it. The 49ers have cut loose Bob Hayes. Does another team sign him?
Well, again, probably signal the end of his 10-year career, which began with Dallas and they won the Tokyo Olympics. Now, how old is Bob Hayes?
I'm not sure. Hey, Google. When was Bob Hayes born? Bullet Bob Hayes.
December 20th, 1942.
So he...
FHSAA.com, they say, Bob Hayes by of Robert Lee Hayes.
Hey, Google, stop. So he's 33 years old, or 32 years old, about to turn 33. Not old as far as life goes, but for a wide receiver, that's pretty much ancient.
I think maybe he might have another year or two in him, but if not, then at least he lasted 10 years, which is a lot longer than most NFL players.
All right, we'll move on to October 24th now. It's Friday afternoon. We're a week away from Halloween, and the Patriots are at it again. This time they signed defensive tackle Craig Tifton and released wide receiver Mel Baker, who they signed earlier this week. Chris, what are the Patriots doing? Do they even know?
Well, they're not going to win the AFC East, so I figure it's like a carousel. Like, guys just come to the Patriots. They're coming, they're going, they're coming, they're going. It's a good thing the Red Sox are in the World Series and taking the heat off of them.
Where are we in the World Series, by the way? Charles, where are we on the World Series? Because
we've already passed the World Series on Tuesday, October 21st, and what would make it the greatest World Series game ever. The Red Sox jumped to a 3-0 lead in the first inning. The Reds tied it in the fifth, went ahead in the seventh, and when Cesar Duramo went deep in the top of the eighth, it looked like the Reds were going to celebrate the title. Well, the bottom of the eighth, Bernie Clubber said, not so fast, and hit a second pinch-hit homer of the series to tie the game. Then both teams missed chances to win the game at game late. Bottom of the ninth, Red Sox had a sack full, nobody out. Familiar? But Denny Doyle, short fly ball, Denny Doyle thought it was go, 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 but Zim said no. He tried to score it with a dead dog. Then the 11th, Joe Morgan gave me a bid to put the Reds ahead, but Dewey Evans said, hold my deal. He said it, and then double off a dumbfounded 10-50. Finally, bottom of the 12th, the 12th a.m., Colin Fisk faced Jack Dorsey, the Red 8 pitcher of the game. Down off the line, Fisk waiting. Stay down. Fair ball, and the World Series will go to a 7th game. Then in Game 7, then the Red Sox jumped to an early 3-0 lead in the third inning. On the 6th point, Perez saw Bill Lee's blooper pitches and hit it on the Lansdowne Street to make it 3-2. The Reds tied in the 7th, and then the 9th, Joe Morgan, the league's MVP, got a little old bleeder to put the Reds ahead. Will McEnany shut the Red Sox down the bottom half, and the World Championship went to the Reds for the first time since 1940. 75 million people watched Game 7, a record at that time.
That is huge. And here's a little announcement for Patreon subscribers, and you can subscribe to me on Patreon at VinnyXWolf. At some point in the next few 10 days or so, we're going to get together and watch Game 6 of the World Series with you. So you'll be able to see our reactions, me as a closet Red Sox fan. They're my second favorite team. And we'll see our reactions to that historic game. And, of course, as Charles said, the waving of the World Series ball fair. So stay tuned and make sure you join or you follow me and subscribe on Patreon, Vinny X Wolf. Back to Friday, October 24th. Chester Markle has been placed on the injured reserve list. Chris, what does that do? The Packers just beat the Cowboys last week. What does that do to their chances losing their kicker like this?
One step forward, 2 steps backward. I mean, there's nothing more painful than when you get such a great win and then you lose a key player because, given how John Hadle isn't exactly the John Hadle of old, you don't want to lose someone who can actually get you points.
He did throw that game-winning touchdown to Rich McGeorge, but yeah, you need a quality kicker in the league. I mean, you're not going to be making 67, 68-yard field goals, obviously, but you need somebody that can make you 30-yard field goals. Friday night in Georgia. It's now Saturday morning, so you're opening up your newspaper. If you live in Georgia, looking at some newspaper. Tucker barely escapes. We're just going to go through high school sports real quick, and we're not going to talk about it. I just want to give these schools a shout-out. 50th anniversary. Wheeler settles Cobb County. That would be where the Big Boss Man is from. You know what? I wonder if he was a teenager at that time and playing. Anybody see Ray Traylor's name? No? Okay. They beat them 26-0. The clock ticks and Sylvan wins. Jefferson routes Raboon. Thomasville on a breeze. And that in Class B, number 1 is up for grabs. So if you played high school football in Georgia in the 1975 season, there's your newspaper. Moving on. NFL preview. Who are the real Falcons? Chris, we've seen them win some. We've seen them lose some. They're hosting the Bengals this Sunday. Is Steve Bartkowski the right fit for the Atlanta Falcons going forward?
Well, considering how bad their offense was in 1974, he has to be the right fit because when you look at when you give in the Atlanta's disaster of a season 1974, Bartkowski can't be any worse because you cannot be any worse than whatever the Falcons trotted out last year. And considering that they have lower expectations and this division is pretty much over, hey, you got to try something.
Charles, do you think the fans of Cincinnati are going to be able to come down from celebrating the World Series win in time to root for the Bengals this weekend?
I'm sure they will. I suppose the Bengals are 6-0 right now. So Cincinnati Bengals, if anything, Bengals players will try to feed off West World Championship and then give Cincinnati the second sports championship in the 75-76 season.
Mark is perhaps the greatest name of any running back in the NFL right now, Cincinnati Bengals, Booby Clark. Anybody have a better name than him?
Booby Clark.
No, that's about as good as it gets.
I mean, even Atlanta quarterback Dick Shiner, I'd rather have Booby Clark in my backfield than Dick Shiner. NFL transactions. Washington, the Redskins have activated offensive tackle Terry Hermeling, and they lost left tackle Tim Stokes for the season knee surgery. Remember, they're positioning themselves for a playoff run. Chris, offensive line movement mid-season, that's not good.
There's an old saying in football, if a quarterback or a running back or a wide receiver get injuries, you can have a substitution. But offensive lineman injuries are really, really, because when that means you have to shuffle the line and it changes shit. Just as the 91 Colts.
We have an NFL game on this Saturday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The St. Louis Cardinals clipped the New York Giants 20-13. In this untelevised Saturday NFL game, both quarterbacks threw 2 touchdowns, but the difference, Charles, was Jim Hart had 0 turnovers while Craig Morton continued to turn the ball over, throwing 3 interceptions. Did the NFL do a disservice to the Giants making the play on Saturday right after a Monday night game?
I think I understand why this was the case. You got to remember, Yankee Stadium was still completing its renovations. The football stadium in New Jersey was under construction. The Giants, Jets, Yankees, and Mets all played at Shea Stadium. And the city was still recovering from a near default just a few days prior. And well, on top of that, the Giants and Jets, everybody knows they cannot play at the same time unless they face each other. I think both teams had to be on the road for the first 4 weeks of the season because the Yankees and Nats were playing out the string in baseball. So I think the NFL had no choice but they had to play so many games on Saturday.
Mark, do you think it would have been better to put the Jets on Saturday instead of the Giants, though, given that the Giants just played Monday night?
I don't know. I don't know that the Jets are that great. I don't know that they can be a whole lot worse than the Giants right now.
I mean, considering this game was untelevised, it's not like anybody outside of Gotham was able to see it. So
yeah, this is true. Like, I don't know. It probably wouldn't have heard who would the Jets would have been playing.
Does anybody have the schedule on offhand right now? Who the Jets played in this weekend in the?
I do know the Niners are at the Schaefer Stadium in Foxborough. Have been pretty busy this week with training that was coming and going of players.
Don't worry about it, guys.
Baltimore Colts.
Okay,
Baltimore Colts. Couldn't be any worse. And Baltimore's a young and upcoming team, it looks like, so it wouldn't have hurt to play it.
But to be fair, Mark, the St. Louis Cardinals are actually a pretty decent team. So basically, it's one mediocre New York team and one decent team. So it's basically the same thing.
We move on.
Yeah.
We move on to college football now, and Saturday, October 25th. The TCU Horned Frogs versus the Alabama Crimson Tide. It's a battle of purple and crimson. Number 6, Bama horns in the Frogs 45-0. Chris, the Tide rolled for 376 yards, while TCU had just 78 yards of total offense. What say you?
When one team has 78 yards of literal offense and the other team can run for almost 400 yards, yeah, that's a recipe for disaster.
Charles, it looks like the Crimson Tide continues scoring all the way into scoring 34 points in the third quarter. Did TCU stick around, or are they already on a plane back to Texas?
I think they mentally checked out in the third quarter.
We should talk fullback Johnny Davis.
I think they were there, but in their minds, they were looking ahead the next day to get back home.
Fullback Johnny Davis had 102 yards and 10 carries, averaging over 10 yards a carry. Plus, he had a touchdown in the first quarter. Crimson Tide adding 2 more second quarter runs by Robert Fraley and Richard Todd. Richard Todd, of course, the future New York Jet. We'll be mentioning his name a lot in the coming years. Big game, Chris. USC and Notre Dame. The Trojans, number 3. Notre Dame, number 14. The Trojans are coming off 3 straight wobbly games, and the Irish have pulled off some monster comebacks, putting Joe Montana into the game. But the Trojans get the win here 24-17. Notre Dame 3 leads and a blocked punt, but Ricky Bell. What can you say about Ricky Bell?
I mean, when you look at Ricky Bell, you almost expect this for him. He's at 200-yard games, 165-yard games. You're wondering, well, how are they going to replace Anthony Davis? Well, they can replace Anthony Davis. After all, John McKay is a man who truly favors offensive execution.
Mark, does Ricky Bell, is he the one that can unseat Archie Griffin as the Heisman Trophy 175?
I think so.
I'm all in on the Ricky Bell Express here. I'm a Notre Dame fan, as many know, and it pains me to see them lose. But I'm no Ohio State fan, and if anybody's going to pull off the Heisman, I'm on the Ricky Bell train.
By the way, Vince Evans is a name that Mark might be familiar with from his Raider days.
Yep.
Yes.
Indiana and Michigan, number 7th ranked Michigan Wolverines. So they pummel the Hoosiers of Indiana. Obviously, this is not 2025, the way Indiana is playing nowadays. Rob Lytle, who last year fumbled twice in Bloomington, he makes amends by pounding Indiana for 147 yards on the ground and 4 touchdowns. Charles, how bad was Indiana in this game, and does Bo Schembechler, is he got Michigan rolling toward a potential national title? They have not lost yet.
Continue winning out, and who continue to have them in the coach rankings suffer upset. That's probably the only way the Wolverines are going to have a chance. As far as the Coach of Indiana, he's no Bobby Knight. He gets fired pretty soon. It's not the end of the season.
If you take a look at the picture here, that Indiana running back Derek Burnett, he is being dragged down. He's from Gary, Indiana. He's being tackled by Michigan's Jim Bolden in this game. Indiana just they were not up to the challenge of the 7th-ranked team in the nation. Army and Penn State. Well, Charles, we gotta talk to you. Penn State, Blake's Army. The Nittany Lions, after a tougher than expected game last week versus Syracuse, had an easier time this week thanks to Woody Petchell's 139 yards and 2 touchdown performance. What do you think Joe Paterno's thinking with this game against the Army cadets behind him now?
Joe Paterno is very proud of what the Nittany Lions did here, as Army was proving that they are all they can be.
Mark, how about this kicker for Penn State, Chris Barr? We know he's no longer eligible to play soccer, so he's only kicking. They've said he's had some boredom. Here he gets a field goal and kicks all his extra points. What else can you talk about? Penn State blew out Army.
It was Penn State taking care of business. I don't think they wanted another game like Syracuse, and they're a better team than they were than the last they played like last week.
Well said. All right, let's take a look at this touchdown of the day from this date in touchdown history. This is from the Notre Dame USC game, and it is USC in white. Ricky Bell in the backfield, Vince Evans at quarterback. There's a handoff to Bell, and he bursts through the Notre Dame line to score the touchdown and help aid USC on to victory.
Ring the bell.
They dispel tools for USC.
Chris, let's go up to Canada. CFL nearing the end of the regular season. Toronto declaws the Hamilton Tiger Cats 27-23. Using the shotgun formation, quarterback Chuck Ely helps Toronto score 17 second-half points and some timely defensive stops. Toronto can make the playoffs unless they lose by 16 or more. The Canadian League is a lot different than the NFL. Toronto has, 4 wins at this point? How are they going to be a playoff team?
In the CFL divisions, all you got to do is finish first, second, or third, and you're going to have a chance at the Grey Cup.
Kentucky and Georgia. The Dogs deny the Wildcats. It's a battle of the Cats and Dogs, 21-13 by overcoming a shaky start thanks to Ray Goff's timely passing and second half defensive shutout. Ray Goff, the quarterback of the Bulldogs, led a second half comeback. And as a Georgia Bulldog fan, obviously I'm not old enough. I was born in the 70s, but I did not see them win the 1980 national title. But I am so proud of their history and stuff. And Ray Goff is a name that you always hear about when you hear about Georgia quarterbacks, along with Buck Bellew of the time period. And we've had some much better ones later on. But seeing the Dogs win, 75 is not a great banner season. And getting a second half shutout, that's a great game for me as a Dog fan. Texas A&M and Baylor, Battle of Texas. Mark, the Aggies, they won this game. They're 5th in the nation. They are able to beat the Bears 19-10, a 77-yard fumble return and a 46-yard kickoff return. Did Aggies actually earn this win, or, Lester Hayes scoring the fumble return touchdown for the Aggies, or is Baylor, were they actually better than A&M, and A&M just got the better scores?
I'm not sure that Baylor's better than them. I just think Aggies had a couple breaks that went their way. It could have been a much different game without those breaks.
Chris, did anybody notice if he had any stickum on his hands?
Just win, baby. Or score, baby.
77-yard fumble return. Shades of.
By the way, I want to mention, this is the same Baylor team that tied Michigan.
Iowa State and Oklahoma, the second-ranked Sooners, slammed the Cyclones 39-7. It's like the Chris Ledoux song, "They Can Slam a Tornado." OU lost 6 fumbles, but it didn't matter thanks to 368 yards rushing. Charles, 368 yards rushing. Is that even human? Okay, I'm having trouble hearing him. He's in and out right now. Chris, Joe Washington, where do you see him in the future? Is he an NFL running back?
Depends. Remember, his teammate, the future New England Patriot Horace Iver, could be a future NFL. I think the better question is, who's got the better NFL future, Joe Washington or Horace Ivory? He's not the only one.
You hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you
Yes.
now. You've got some other names on this Oklahoma team. Freshman halfback Billy Sims, and let's not forget the Selman brothers. They play for Oklahoma as well. How stacked, Mark, is Oklahoma in 75?
They're pretty well stacked from top to bottom.
Chris, what way is
I
Barry
think
Switzer doing it right
I
now?
think correct. The only thing the Sooners they're not doing their cyclone is have a house problem where they can go to the east.
Chris, if you could ask Barry Switzer right now, what way is he doing it?
We got a job to do. We got to do it, baby.
Moving on throughout the day, Ohio State and Purdue, the number one team in the nation. They boil the Boilermakers 35-6. We've talked about Archie Griffin and his run for the Heisman mark. He had 130 yards on 22 carries. This is his 28th 100-yard game. He is now college football's all-time leading rusher. Is the Heisman his already?
It's going to be awful tough for anybody to beat him.
Charles, is it?
She also the Buckeyes have.
What's that?
How many rushing yards did they have versus passing yards?
Let's see if we can see. 335 rushing yards, looks like 93 passing yards.
That's the one he has way. And Mark is right. If it's like a team swings like this, nobody's gonna beat them.
Colorado and Nebraska. The 4:30 p.m. game now. Number 4th, Colorado. Number 10, Nebraska. At 4 versus 10, you don't expect this score, Chris. 63-21. It's a top 10 showdown, but it turned out to be anything but. Colorado, 8 turnovers. And Nebraska, 6 touchdowns.
Points off turnovers. It's a telling statistic. You turn it over 8 times, that's bad enough. 8 turnovers, 6 of them led to touchdowns. Let's move on before the Buffaloes do.
Mark, Nebraska's quarterback, Vince Ferragamo, he also threw for 2 touchdowns, and John O'Leary ran for 2 other scores. I mean, Nebraska doesn't need to throw, but when you got a quarterback like Vince Ferragamo, why not?
Yeah, they're built to run the ball, but if they can occasionally throw it just to keep a defense honest, and the only team that Nebraska's got to worry about is Oklahoma.
Yep. And, of course, that showdown is going to be one for the ages. I'm going to take this one. This one's a college I follow. They're a small college where we don't have the divisional breakdown between 1A and 1AA yet. But Hofstra, they beat Seton Hall, and they're the Flying Dutchman. Unfortunately, they will drop football in 2009. But let's take a look at this touchdown that was featured on this date in touchdown history. In the mud on Long Island, actually it's in New Jersey, Seton Hall. It is a breakaway touchdown run and quite the dance, kind of looking like that Chris, what's that Kansas City Chief who danced like that? Take a look at the end here.
Elmo Wright.
Elmo Wright, doing the Elmo Wright in the end zone. By the way, that was scored by Wilkerson. That was scored by running back Charlie Wilkerson, helping Hofstra to a 21-0 victory over Seton Hall. And we are on Sunday now. No, this is still Saturday, 25th. Yep, still Saturday. It's a late game, the one I added. Still Saturday. The evening games now. Number 8, Texas, rolling past Rice, 41-9. The Longhorns get 3 rushing touchdowns, Charles, from Graylin Wyatt en route to 304 yards rushing for the Texas Longhorns.
Rice, Rice is going to have a football team. On this day, the San Francisco Treat belonged to the Longhorns.
Not a lot to say when you route a team like that, and Rice, of course, is not exactly up there with the Nebraskas and Oklahomas. Chris, we're going back up to Canada here in the evening. The BC Lions, they beat the Rough Riders. This one, is it Saskatchewan or Ottawa? Saskatchewan. An unusual score of
Saskatchewan.
12-8, and BC picked off Saskatchewan quarterback Ron Lancaster 3 times. And for those of us fans who watched the CFL in the 90s and 2000s know Ron Lancaster as a broadcaster, Saskatchewan regular season final means they get a bye next week. Or is this the end of the right? No, they get a bye next week, and they no longer control their own destiny in the West. Chris?
What that means is this was Saskatchewan's last game of the regular season. Edmonton has 2 games to go. Going into today, Saskatchewan had a 1-point lead over Edmonton, and they basically had to win this game and hope for a slip-up, but they screwed the pooch here, and now Edmonton basically has 2 match points.
Charles, San Jose State pummels Cal State Fullerton 41-7 under a 28-point second quarter, and Rick Kane, 106 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns.
So what? Now they were 3-0 back in the final 1 ball goal for. So who knows? We might get a game this year. We continue playing like this.
They've got a great young coach in Daryl Rogers, and he substitutes freely. He keeps guys fresh, and they're in first place in the PCAA with a 3-0 record, 5-1 overall.
I wonder how many bowl games there were in 1975-76 compared to the bowl games we got now.
Well, let me put it this way, Charles. There was no Holiday Bowl back then. The Holiday.
All right, so a wild Saturday comes to an end. You wake up Sunday morning, and if you live in Virginia, here's your college football wrap-up. Wake Forest mauls the inept University of Virginia 66-21. The Richmond Spiders get their 4th win, 24-17. West Virginia stops the Hokies 10-7. And so the Virginia area, a lot of college football being played. Union errors helped Norfolk win 23-14, smaller college football. The Pirates, East Carolina romps past the Tar Heels. Florida defeats Duke 24-16. Buckingham wins the James River title. Clemson loses to the Wolfpack 45-7. Just a lot of college teams in the Virginia area. So that's just something to look at if you lived in the Virginia area in 1975. None of their teams are ranked, so we didn't really get to talk about that. But the other thing you'd see in your morning paper is Archie Griffin is now the rushing leader, passing teammate Pete Johnson. Charles, you asked about Ohio State's rushing. Well, he now has a career total of 4,730 yards, breaking Ed Marinaro's 4,715 yards.
Oh, that's right. Now with the Minnesota Vikings. And Griffin, and whoever drafts Griffin in the NFL when he's ready, they're gonna have a pretty good rusher on their hands.
And when you factor in the fact that he took over the league, the nation's leading rushing from his own teammate, that's an impressive backfield duo of Pete Johnson and Archie Griffin. Mark, is there anybody better than those two?
Not that I can think of.
All right, Chris, we've been talking about it, whether the WFL players could come into the NFL, and the National Football League Players Association are protesting Pete Rozell's edict. He says no. They will not be able to join Chris.
Well, that's good news for the Bills, which means they don't have to deal with Larry Zonk on Sunday.
Yeah. NFL President Kermit Alexander is denouncing Rozell's embargo as unfair to the players and fans alike. Charles, what do you think?
I might have to agree with the Player Association leaders to some extent. Now, as Mark said, if a player was let go prior to joining the WFL is one thing, but if they signed with the NFL team and then bolted to join the WFL, then that's another story because that would be a breach of contract.
Yep. All right, it's time to talk about the NFL's action. This is week 6. The NFL is continuing on through their 14-game schedule. The Bengals and the Falcons, we saw the preview from the Georgia paper earlier. Cincinnati, they knock off the Falcons 21-14. The unbeaten Bengals were facing a trap game, Oakland, last week, and they got trapped. They fell to the Raiders. They have Pittsburgh next week, but the Falcons trapped themselves with 8 turnovers, none more costly than a late fumble that led to Cincinnati's winning score. Chris, Ken Anderson's late touchdown helps tame the Falcons 21-14. How good are the Bengals in 75? Can they knock off the Steelers for the division crown?
Oh, considering they've actually held their own against Pittsburgh in the regular season in recent years, and they have won the division before, they seem a little better. But considering Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh and Houston is no longer a doormat, they don't have any margin for error. They don't have the weak links. Like in the AFC East, there's no like Jets or Patriots or Chargers to beat up on.
Yeah, you want to win that division, you've got to win your divisional games.
The Colts and the Jets. The Colts jolt the Jets 45-28. After 4 straight weeks of flashing unrealized potential, Baltimore finally put it all together. 2 touchdown passes by Burt Jones, 212 yards rushing for the Colts, 7 sacks of Joe Namath. Mark, are the Jets overrated, or are the Colts actually coming up and going to be a better team this year?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think the Jets are overrated. They haven't done a whole heck of a lot since their Super Bowl upset guarantee, and the Burt Jones them are starting to come into their own. They're looking like a team that could be contenders in that AFC East.
Charles, I've said it in videos on my own YouTube channel and whatever, that Joe Namath is the most overrated quarterback in the NFL Hall of Fame. He's the only quarterback with a losing record to be in the Hall of Fame. It's years like this in 1975 where he was healthy and playing, but still gets sacked 7 times. How much of it is actually him, and how much of it is just bad coaching and managing of the Jets franchise?
Maybe a little bit of both, but also on this game here, the Baltimore Colts, they reminded the Jets, they didn't have long memories of what Joe Namath said 6 years prior. He was guaranteed that they would beat the Baltimore Colts, and the Colts probably said, take that.
Yep. The Cowboys and the Eagles. Dallas gets past Philadelphia 20-17. Last year, the Cowboys lost at Veterans Stadium, an outcome that ultimately kept them out of the playoffs. History would not repeat themselves as Philly held but blew 3 separate leads as Roger Staubach once again came to the rescue. Chris, Roger Staubach, Captain America, the captain comeback. What else can be said about what he can do in the fourth quarter? Is any lead safe against that man?
Oh, sirree, Bob. When danger beckons thickest, you can always count on Roger Staubach. It goes back to that playoff game against the 49ers in 72. No deficit is too much. No lead is safe when you're facing Captain America.
Charles, we're coming on to the 49ers and Patriots. You mentioned earlier that they were going to be in Sullivan Stadium out in Foxborough. New England subdues San Francisco 24-16. Remember all those moves they made? It's paying off. The 49ers won on the strength of 5 takeaways. This week the tables were turned as San Francisco had 4 in Foxborough.
Sound like the Patriots tasted much better to Patriots fans, and to Niners fans, the turnover tasted sour.
The Redskins and the Browns. Washington tames Cleveland 23-7. How far has Cleveland fallen? A 16-point home loss with 4 turnovers is their best showing at Municipal Stadium this year. As for Washington, a bounce back from their tough loss in Houston. Chris, onward to their annual blockbuster at RFK. Are the Redskins ready?
Well, they certainly got to be ready, considering that St. Louis is still winning. And, what can you say about this rivalry? I mean, history's on the Redskins side is because in the ever since George Allen became the head coach in 1971, the season series has been a split every year. Dallas doesn't sweep Washington. Washington doesn't sweep Dallas. It's probably the best rivalry in football right now, and CBS is looking at another beauty.
We go up to Canada with one of the Western teams, the Stampeders, and an Eastern team, Montreal. Calgary blew a 17-0 lead thanks to Sonny Wade's second-half rally for Les Alouettes. The stage is now set for next week. Montreal at Ottawa for first place in the CFL East. Mark, can a game like this compare to anything going on in the NFL in 75?
It's going to be more regional up there. It's a good game up in Canada. I don't know that it's making a lot of headway noise in 75 down here in the United States.
Charles,
and Montreal, the talent up there.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the talent up there for what they got up there in Canada is not bad, but I don't know that how well they could actually compete if they went head to head with NFL players down here. It's totally different.
Mark, let me mention this. Obviously, the old joke, people say that obviously the best college team can't beat the worst NFL team. But do you think the best CFL team could beat the worst CFL team? Like, could the Edmonton Eskimos beat the Browns in 75?
That's a little more realistic. We're talking guys that are a little more mature, a little older. They've got some speed. It depends. Their rules would be they would have to get used to rules in the NFL. But I think they could manage beating an NFL team. They could stun somebody.
Chris, Montreal coach Marv Levy. Where else would you rather be than in Montreal? He started Jimmy Jones at quarterback, but then went to old reliable Sonny Wade in the second half. Marv Levy, is he ever going to have what it takes to make it back down in America?
Well, it's going to depend on whoever gives him a shot. Remember, Bud Grant. Just ask Bud Grant. He had plenty of CFL success. How's he doing in Minnesota?
They did overcome a 17-0 deficit. If anybody knows how to circle the wagons and overcome a deficit, it's Marv Levy.
Backup quarterback, no less.
Mark,
It's not good for you.
Mark, we're into the 2 p.m. starts now in the NFL, and we're talking your team, the Denver Broncos. But Kansas City scalps them 26-13. Last year, Denver won for the first time in Kansas City, but it wasn't meant to be this year as the Broncos, thanks to 4 sacks and 4 turnovers.
Yeah, the sacks is one thing, but turn the ball over 4 times that'll kill you real quick.
Remember, going into this game, Denver was tied for the lead in the AFC West.
Not no more.
Lions and Oilers. Houston tames Lions 24-8. Detroit scored the game's first 6 points and last 2 points on a safety. The problem was that in between they gave up 24, which included 2 touchdowns by Billy White Shoes Johnson Charles. 24-8. Houston. Are they really this good?
Well, this time. They're only pretty good, but they have to keep it up in the ultra competitive AFC Central with 2 powerhouses, the Steelers, the defending champs, and the unbeaten Bengals.
By the way, in case you were wondering, thanks to our friends over at NFLScoregami.com, this is indeed a scoregami, and it has only happened twice, most recently in 2022.
Wow. Origami.
Yeah.
The Steelers and the Packers. Pittsburgh edges Green Bay 16-13. The Packers, coming off their conquest of Dallas last week, almost pulled off another shocker, but Pittsburgh found a way to win on the strength of 248 yards rushing, 4 sacks, and a 94-yard kickoff return. Mark, you live in the Keystone State. What the fans of Pittsburgh, do they believe they can repeat, especially when they have such a close game against Green Bay?
Yeah, it was much closer than I felt it should have, but I think they rely on their defense and they can rely on Franco Harris to get first down after first down and keep drives alive to win. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to worry too much late in the year. They'll be in the playoffs. It's just a question of will they have home field advantage.
Winnipeg and Edmonton up in the CFL, where the Eskimos in the snow outscore Winnipeg 48-41. With Saskatchewan losing yesterday, the Eskimos had a chance to wrap up the top spot in the West, despite a temperature of -2, and that's Celsius since it's up in Canada. And the Blue Bombers' helmet jersey stolen on Saturday. Winnipeg had 15 more first downs and gained 110 more yards. How did they lose? Edmonton returned a kickoff, a punt, and a missed field goal, all for touchdowns. Chris, how wild is this game?
You got the stolen jerseys. You got the snow. You had Edmonton playing for something thanks to Saskatchewan losing. And oh my God in heaven, Winnipeg. Think about it. You give up 28 points on touchdowns when the Eskimos offense is not on the field. Oh, those Winnipeg special teams.
Let's take a look at this jersey situation due to a locker room theft. You can see here, thanks to gridironuniforms.com, of 22 Winnipeg jerseys and 6 Winnipeg helmets. Winnipeg players had to borrow jerseys and helmets from the University of Alberta Golden Bears football team. And as you can see, the colors are similar, not exactly the same, but as you can see by the changing features in the picture here, not a great look for Winnipeg. Not a great look for the security at Joseph A. Clark Memorial Stadium in Edmonton, Alberta. Charles, what would happen in the NFL if something like this happened? Would an NFL team be able
Why would
to?
you did that?
Wait, Charles, how about those special teams? They gave up 3 return touchdowns in a game they outgained them by over 100 yards.
You cannot do that. Expect to win.
The Saints and the Rams. Los Angeles slams the Saints 38-14. New Orleans went into this game having never won in 6 tries in the LA Coliseum and make it 7. Charles, the Rams ran for 223 yards, allowed 173 total yards, and forced 3 turnovers. The bakery was open in Los Angeles.
I guess you could say the Rams all that way. Yeah, I think the headline says it best. The Rams are saints in their division. New Orleans was anything but.
Yep. We're on to the 4 p.m. games now. Chris, the big game we've been talking about it, the Dolphins and the Bills. Miami shocks Buffalo 35 to something.
31.
31.
31.
The Bills were poised to end their 10-game losing streak to Miami, despite Mercury Morris outrushing O.J. Simpson. But Joe Ferguson, a late interception with 3 minutes remaining, set up Don Nottingham, the Sheriffs, the Bowling Balls' 3rd score of the day. It was Miami's first and only lead in the game, and the Bills couldn't beat the Dolphins on a day they led for 55-plus minutes, and no Zonka, kicker Warfield. Win will they? Chris, what is going on with Buffalo when it comes to Miami? It's now 11 straight losses.
This is something that we can actually relate because we've seen this with our teams. Mark, you went through this when the Broncos couldn't beat the Chiefs forever. Charles, your 49ers beat the Rams once upon a time 17 straight times. And Vinny, of course, the Bills Dolphins. It's like when a losing streak just lingers, it just gets into you. Like one team just believes that it doesn't matter what you do. And by the way, Miami, Oakland, and Pittsburgh in first place. It's like the more things change, the more they stay the same.
The Chargers and the Raiders. Oakland blanks the Chargers 25-0. For the second time this season, San Diego scores a goose egg against the Raiders, but unlike last time, Oakland actually scores touchdowns. Mark, for good measure, they also got 2 safeties against the Chargers. That means Oakland moves ahead of Denver by a full game.
Yeah, that's true. It's Oakland's a class above San Diego right now.
They're a class above San Diego, Kansas City, Oakland. Jaguar Gator 9 did a good story on this game. The Los Angeles aired the Chargers Raiders locally on NBC despite protests from local station KNBC. Now, neither team calls Los Angeles their home. Chris, did you get a chance to watch this video? What is this about?
Basically, the difference is that Los Angeles did not want to air this game because, remember, this was one of only 2 games. Remember, the other NBC late game was that Miami-Buffalo thriller. Los Angeles is NBC affiliate. They wanted to air the Miami-Buffalo game. But NBC decided, no, you're getting this game.
If you haven't seen Jaguar Gator 9's videos, he does a very good, intensive, deep dive into some of the more mundane or unknown stories in football, and this story is definitely a video worth checking out on his channel, Jaguar Gator 9.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions.
All right.
I think I stuck with the Raiders game. I think what was the part one? I probably said if Arizona turned to air instead of the Chargers Raiders, I'd rather have Heidi than that game.
Now let me just scroll back and see what I did. No, I did not. So the touchdown that was used from this day was the kick return by Collier from the Steelers and Packers. I forgot to post it on here, so it was a 94-yard kick return for a touchdown that helped to sink the Packers' fortunes. Let's move on now to Monday, October 27th. We're getting that much closer, and OJ, he knows cancer's warning signs. Do you? Now, let me just say a little comment. Obviously, we're 19 years away from everybody's perception of him changing. But the fact that this is shown in the negative, by the way the newspaper was saved on microfilm before it was uploaded digitally, makes it look a little bit more creepier than it should have. All right. Let's move on, though. But that was in a newspaper on that day. We got the CFL standings with just a week to go. Ottawa, they're a half game ahead of Montreal for the lead in the East. Montreal and Toronto would be your playoff matchup. Edmonton, they're they're also a half game ahead of Saskatchewan. Winnipeg and Saskatchewan are your first round teams. Calgary, of course, they're a game back. British Columbia's 2 losses back in the in the loss column, a full 2 points behind Winnipeg. The standings aren't set. Chris, where do we stand going into the final week of the regular season in the CFL?
All right, here's where we stand. So Ottawa versus Montreal, that is going to be for the first place in the CFL East. The winner of that game wins the East. Meanwhile, Toronto and Hamilton, well, again, Hamilton has to win by 16 points. Otherwise, it'll be Toronto in the playoffs versus the Ottawa Montreal loser. Edmonton has actually clinched the West because Saskatchewan lost to the Lions and Edmonton won the 48-41 game. Edmonton has clinched. But there is still a little drama because Winnipeg, BC are fighting for the other playoff spot. Calgary's been eliminated.
Okay. Vikings and Bears. That night, the Vikings squeezed past the Bears 13-9. No, it wasn't the Twins and White Sox. It was the Vikings and the Bears. The 16-point favorite Minnesota Vikings had a rough ride on Monday night against the 1-4 Bears. But Minnesota found a way to win thanks to 3 timely takeaways. Charles, Monday Night Football, Vikings edging the Bears. Why'd they play so bad?
The Bears?
The Vikings.
No, the Vikes.
Joe Cap or some of the other Vikings. Maybe you could ask Carew to maybe join the Vikings. Who knows?
Crew and Dick Allen would have probably put up more offense.
After the Bears.
Mark, the Lions quarterbacks, both of them, Munson and Landry, are feared lost for the season. Detroit's done. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know who you're going to have at quarterback, or if you can bring somebody in for emergency, but you're in a lot of trouble with no steady quarterback that's proven.
Can the Detroit Lions put in for an exemption and get a Daryl LaMonica or a Sonny Six Killer from the World Football League? Do you think Pete Rozelle would give them that, considering just what they've lost?
Well, let's put it to this way. If the 1968 Buffalo Bills couldn't get an exception when they lost 4 quarterbacks due to injury, I don't think the Lions are going to get be as fortunate. I mean, just ask the 68 Bills.
Here is Mike Adamle. Charles, did he score? Would that be overturned in 2025?
I don't see a weird play on that one, because if he dropped the ball, something's going down in the end zone, it would have been a touchback attack to the opposition. So there isn't.
Watch closely. It looks like he's actually down to me.
Well, if he's down, or if he was down, that he still had the ball. That was instant goal on the 1-yard line. You say you probably score anyway.
Chris, do you think he could have used a block from Jeff Harvey?
Well, he could have used Larry Zonka, his future American Gladiators co-host.
Early in the first quarter of this Monday night game between the Bears and Minnesota, Mike Adamle gets the draw play and goes 14 yards for the score. However, like I said, I believe in 2025 it would be overturned as his elbow appeared down before it crossed the goal line. And it's Tuesday. It's time to show you the new picture for the week. It is Irish quarterback Joe Montana, the freshman. He didn't get the win against USC, but boy, does he look good in that Notre Dame uniform.
That name.
Remember that name, indeed. All right, so now it's still Monday, or sorry, it's Tuesday. Muldoon, a throwback to another good era. This is a story coming out of Canadian College. Bernie Muldoon, he is a one-handed he made a diving one-handed catch to put Concordia on the board against McGill last Saturday. It warmed the hearts of college football fans in attendance. And you have to throw Bernie. He's a throwback. to another era. Just again, one of the things we do here is show some lesser known stories that are going on in the world of football, not just the NFL and college. Bernie Muldoon, Concordia University, 1975. Mark, the NFL injuries are piling up, and it's not just the quarterbacks. We've talked about the Detroit Lions. You've got, like, for instance, tight end Jim McFarland from Buffalo, tackle Randy Crowder. What can the NFL do about these injuries?
Trying to keep it with it.
I don't know. There's much they can do. It's part of the game. These guys are not going to sit there and say tackle them, hit them lightly, and they're going to go all out.
Is it another?
There's not much. This is.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the padding's a little bit better than it was a couple 20 years ago, but you can only do so much.
4 days ago, that would be the October 29th now. Patriots quarterback Jim Plunkett had to have surgery. He is done for the season. Where does New England go from here, Chris?
Well, basically, he was the toast of the NFL in 1971, but the problem with Jim Plunkett is, well, he needed an offensive line. Here's a guy who's been getting the hell beaten out of him, but he's basically getting sacked all the time. He's got a bad offensive line, and it's like, this is why offensive lines are so important.
Other players, quarterbacks that are on the injured list include Atlanta's Steve Bartkowski, Greg Landry and Bill Munson from Detroit, we mentioned. Quarterback Terry Bradshaw of Pittsburgh sustained a sprained tendon in his right knee, but he is expected to start against Cincinnati. Injuries are piling up here after 6 weeks in the NFL. And it's time to look at the NFL standings and talk what the playoffs would be. Again, Minnesota still undefeated, 6-0. I incorrectly mentioned earlier that the Bengals lost to the Raiders. They did not. They won. They're still 6-0. But let's get to the NFC, Charles. The Rams and the Cowboys and the Vikings clearly division leaders right now by at least a game in each. Washington is your wild card. They would go to Minnesota. The Rams and Cowboys, not sure who would host. There's no more divisional rotation, so it'll come down to a tiebreaker. We have the same 4 teams that we had last week. No changes, Charles.
What? And the AFC, you got the Dolphins in first place, and the only tiebreaker against Buffalo. The Bengals still undefeated, but Pittsburgh and Houston are breathing down their backs. The Cleveland Browns, well, they exist.
Chris, we had a change in the AFC. As Charles mentioned, the Bengals are undefeated. They're your 1 seed right now. Miami's a 2. They would host Oakland. But now it would be Pittsburgh traveling to Cincinnati and not Buffalo, as the Bills' 2 straight losses have been knocked from the playoffs currently after 6 weeks.
Well, if you're an NFL fan who's grown bored of the Miami and Pittsburgh and Oakland monopoly, and with Buffalo losing a couple games, you got to root for Cincinnati, if only because maybe, just maybe, the NFL could use a little something different, because you can only see so many Miami, Oakland, Pittsburgh games.
And Mark, we talked about Denver slipping up against the Chiefs, and that drops them from being tied for first place to now they don't hold the tiebreaker against the Chiefs and are third place in their division in the AFC West.
Yeah, you like I said, you have to win your divisions. You don't win your divisions, there's only 4 teams in the playoffs. You can't stumble if you're gonna make it to the postseason.
And just to correct the Rams Cowboys thing, Dallas beat the Rams in week 1.
Oh, so Dallas holds a tiebreaker on them, so they would host the Rams, and the Vikings would host the Redskins. So I know it's 75, and we're talking 75, but Mark, I'm sure you got to be looking forward to 77 2 years from now when we're covering that Broncos season.
Yes, I'll definitely be looking forward to covering that Broncos season. That was their breakout year.
And trust me, and make no mistake, Charles, we're going to get to 1981 some point.
Yep.
Why was this posted 4 days ago? This should have been posted yesterday.
Guys, I do got to get going. I'll see you guys another night.
All right, have a good night, Mark.
I think I botched the date. It was supposed to be on Saturday.
I noticed it didn't get posted, so I posted it, so we'll just skip it for now. We got some NFL transactions on this afternoon. The Bears waived defensive end Ted Vactor. The Browns waived defensive tackle Pete Athas. Packers waived running backs Les Goodman, who had been on the injured reserve list. Kansas City sold tight end Gary Butler on waivers to the Bears. They waived running back Cleophas Miller, signed running back Doug Dressler. The Dolphins placed tight end Jim McFarland on injured reserve, signed wide receiver Charles Cotton Sprayer. The Redskins placed guard Paul Levea on injured reserve and signed defensive end Martin Imhoff. And not to be outdone, the Patriots signed quarterback Neil Graff. Remember, they lost Plunkett. A lot of teams making moves here midweek on a Wednesday afternoon. Charles, anything strike you as interesting in that list?
The Patriots, we'll see how Neil Graff does. I mean, he's no Jim Plunkett, but the Patriots do need somebody. As Mark said, the Lions, they have to sign a quarterback here. They have to.
Chris, do you need a television to watch football on? See our large selection of Zenith Fall Special. For $368, you can get what appears to be a 19 or 25-inch TV that is probably 300 pounds. What say you about that?
Chroma Color 2, the spirit of leadership, Zenith 76. It's a fall special, courtesy of a low price of $368.
I'll get that
This is
TV.
1975.
I'll get that TV and I'll hook my Pong system up to it and play a little Pong.
Some TVs cost less than that 50 years later.
Yeah, this one I posted specifically for a friend of mine who went to Mount Union just to show that they're having a decent season in the smaller college football. Mount Union boasts a racehorse backfield trio: Mark Chapa, Gary Frost, and Mike Gillespie. I think they're the Purple Raiders, if I remember correctly. And wait till next year for Norwalk St. Paul Grid, another small town college football down in the Norwalk. Where is that? Norwalk, Virginia, I want to say, maybe. A lot of these smaller colleges seasons are coming. There's not much left.
Norwalk, Connecticut. Norwalk, Connecticut.
Okay, October 30th, Thursday afternoon, Miami re-signed wide receiver Cotton Sprayer to replace tight end Jim McFarland, who got injured and is put on injured reserve. Green Bay signed free agent defensive back Hurlis Scales Jr., previously released by the Cardinals. San Diego signed free agent defensive tackle Craig Wolsick, previously released by St. Louis. Then Detroit signed quarterback Jack Concannon as a free agent. Chris, Jack Concannon played for the Bears. Is he going to help Detroit stay on, get over the injuries to Munson and Landry?
Well, if the Lions are gonna sign a new quarterback, they might as well sign someone who has experience in the NFC Central. He's played for the Bears, which means he knows a lot more about playing Chicago, Green Bay, and Minnesota than if you just sign some random guy.
Good point. And we move on to Halloween. It's Halloween, and who are you dressing up for? Me, myself. Hold on, let me show you, in case you didn't catch it in the beginning. Stop sharing my screen. Me, myself, I'm going to be dressing up as Kiss on their 75 Alive and 75 World Tour. 1975, of course, the masks back then you can't see out of, so that's why I prefer face paint.
I would have dressed up as the shark from Jaws, blockbuster of the summer.
I'm going to dress up as one of the new popular characters on television, the Fonz from Happy Days.
Hey!
Detroit signed wide receiver George Farmer to till the fields up in Detroit. They don't not fields anymore; it's artificial turf in the Silver Dome. Can a farmer roam the wastelands of the Silver Dome turf? We'll find out.
Jack Concannon to George Farmer, that famed combination that will be seen on Thanksgiving Day, whoever they play.
All right, so that's it. That got us to through Halloween in 1975, and when we reconvene, we'll be talking November 1st to the 11th. Remember what I said about the Patreon page. I'll include a link in the video for this on YouTube and Rumble. We will be watching the 75 World Series Game 6 and giving you our feelings on it exclusively through Patreon. Guys, any final thoughts on the last 11 days of October 1975? Charles.
It's too sad to see Jim Plunkett of Stanford not be able to play out the rest of the season for the Patriots, but then that's the end. But then that's injury for you. The Bengals still undefeated. The AFC Central is going to be a very ultra-competitive division.
Chris, what about you? The Bills dropping 2 games in a row now. where do we go from here through the rest of the season? Can they rebound and still make that Super Bowl like you predicted?
Well, the good news they only play Miami once, but you look at the rest. They still play New England twice. They still have to play the Jets. We'll see what the Colts are, but I think what's going to be also key is they have a 2-day swing, a couple of key games over. They go have a Monday night game at Cincinnati, and they play at St. Louis on Thanksgiving. Yes, you heard me right. St. Louis, Thanksgiving.
Until next time, I'm Vinny Vincent, and for Charles and Chris, I am going to rock and roll all night, and we will see you in 1975.